What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my pod where I'm pushing positivity, purpose, and peace to all student athletes, where I'm going to help you adapt, adjust, and win. Today, I'm with my good friend, more like a sister, Hope Nepstad. She is super cool, has a lot of wisdom, has been in all fronts of the athletic space. So I'm excited to have her on today to help you guys out.
Hi guys, I'm really excited to be here too. Nia's my sister for life, so I'm really blessed.
Yes. So, Hope, just let the people know a little bit about yourself, your story, your background, and what you're doing now.
Okay, hi people. I'm Hope, and I am from Southern California originally, and from a really young age, I just fell in love with sports. Other things too, like horseback riding and singing. I had a very diverse childhood, but sports always took precedence over everything. I played a little bit of basketball, a little bit of flag football, but volleyball ended up becoming my true love. And I just pursued that sport with everything that I had, literally. And I played in high school a lot, in middle school too, but in high school, I played high school and then club volleyball. So it was a year round thing for me. And it had a lot of my identity and a lot of my purpose attached to it. So after being a 3-year varsity starter, and then in my 4th year going into it, when I was cut during tryouts, that was a huge blow to who I was and my identity, and honestly, like rocked my world. And really shook me up a lot. I had put, like I said, all my identity into that sport. So that really threw me for a loop, but it ended up being one of the biggest blessings of my life, because that no was just another opportunity. And so I started to get really interested in strength and conditioning training in my own personal life, just to stay active and stay relevant. And so, I had a couple injuries, and working through those, I really learned a lot about the human body and how to enhance it as a machine. And so it like really intrigued me, and I wanted to pursue it fully. And so simultaneously, I had just been cut, really getting into strength and conditioning. And simultaneously, my club volleyball coach reached out to me. She didn't know that I had been cut yet. And she was like, "Hey, I know you're super busy. I know you're super jammed, but like, would you be able to coach a club team for us? We really think that you'd be a great fit." And I was like, "Well, actually, I'm really free and I would love to do it." So as I simultaneously did both of those things, I discovered a love for coaching and a love for the human body that really sparked my career today. I would not be here without those experiences. So that was a huge deal for me. And so then I went to the University of Nevada, Reno, and I had put my days of wanting to be a physical therapist behind me. And I was like, I'm going to do this strength and conditioning thing. So from the first 2 weeks, I was a normal student for 2 weeks. And then after that, I was waking up before the sun until now. And I was doing strength and conditioning internships with Olympic sports for 2 years. And then I did football for 2 more years. I did really well in my football internship, and I was actually hired full-time right out of college. And then that same staff brought me to Colorado State now, and I'm a full-time football strength and conditioning coach. So yeah, I've been an athlete, I've been an intern, and I'm a coach now. And so I just love all aspects of sport, and I'm a big junkie for football now. But whenever I get a chance to play a little volleyball, I'm always down. But yeah,
Right.
that's my background.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, you definitely have a lot of experience, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on this pod, because you have so many different perspectives of the game, right? One of the things that I wanted to go back to is when you said you were an intern
Yes.
at Nevada. How was that like being in that space? Obviously, you got to start at the bottom to get to where you want to be.
Yes.
What was it like
Oh my
just
goodness.
entering that world?
It was a grind like I had never experienced before. I think often as collegiate athletes, you don't see the people who like hold programs up from the bottom.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
interns in all capacities do that. Strength and conditioning interns, I know personally, but I've also witnessed, our video students, our athletic training students. Like, there are so many people who are unpaid that literally hold collegiate programs up, and without
Right.
it would flounder and fail. With that being said, a lot of that work goes unnoticed. A lot of that work is not glamorous. It's not fun. It's unpaid, and it's low key a little bit miserable. I
Wow.
felt like, especially at the beginning, I felt like a glorified janitor and a chef at the same time. It was really like a smoothie maker at Jamba Juice. So a lot of my responsibilities in the beginning were cleaning and setting up, which, especially when you're working with Olympic, you have, on any given day, at least 5 sports coming in and out of a weight room. So there's a lot of cleanup and setup that needs to be done in order for those to flow smoothly. And then on top of that, at Nevada, we didn't have a nutrition program. So the strength and conditioning program took over a lot of those responsibilities. And so I was in charge of making shakes pre and post workout for all of those programs. Well, not pre, just post, but in football, I did pre as well. But that was a lot of work, especially like when the baseball team would come through. I mean, you're talking like 80 shakes plus. It was a lot. So yeah, it was a grind. And, it was interesting coming into that space as a peer. There's like a whole nother element to that. It's like, hey guys, like, I'm in your classes and I'm going to be making your shakes. And so, a lot of times athletes view you as, how do I phrase this? Like, kind of like they're in, or like, hey, you want to give me an extra shake, or like, I don't know, like they want to get the tea out of you, like things like that. Like, they see you as like this insider person that like bridges the gap. But they don't view you as a coach. Especially like if you're a woman too, like that of course adds an extra layer onto things, mainly when you're talking men's sports. But like, it was just really interesting navigating those dynamics. I was working extremely hard, and then I was like, you're in my classes, but you need to listen to me, but also you don't need to listen to me all the time because I'm not your coach. And it was kind of weird. But at the same time, there were so many beautiful things. I learned so much. I had incredible intern coordinators who always were giving me tasks and, hey, do a report on creatine, and we want to hear about it next week, and I would present to the staff and things like that. And those were incredible opportunities. My sophomore year, I had been loyal to the intern program, and there was a scheduling conflict that happened when this one strength coach, she was coaching tennis and golf at the same time, and she couldn't coach them at the same time, like, because they were totally different workouts. And so she said, hey, Hope, like, I see you, like, you've been here all day, every day. You've been working your ass off. Sorry for my French, but she said that every day, like, you are well deserving of this. Do you want to help me and coach men's golf for me? And I was like, as a sophomore in college, I've spoken to so many strength coaches, and they never have had experiences like that. And that just goes to show, when you put in the hours and you don't care about getting, your flowers. That was kind of a bar also.
It really was. Right. But you're not a rapper, but it's okay.
I'm not a rapper. Just, I'll throw out an occasional bar here and there. But when you do that, people notice, and I had earned my stripes, and she was like, I'm giving you this opportunity. And that was one of the greatest gifts ever. It really helped me establish my coaching voice. And the men's golf team were incredible. They had a ton of respect for me, and I was able to fail and be humbled. And they knew that, and that was okay. Like, they wanted me to learn too alongside them. And it was a really great place for me to enter into college strength and conditioning and get that kind of experience. Because coaching a, club team with 13-year-olds is really different than coaching 18 to 22-year-olds. Like, that is, it's a big difference in how you have to carry yourself and things like that. So yeah, I mean, interning was not glamorous at all. It was very hard work. I would like wake up at 5, maybe sometimes earlier, sometimes 4, and I'd get to the facility and I'd coach all the way until I had a class at like 10. Right. And then I'd go to class and I'd come back, and then I'd stay there as long as I could, and I'd get my own workout in, and I would just be there all the time. So being present is just a huge deal. And that really helps me a lot. And I learned a lot of that doing that from, mentors and family members who were like, yo, if you want this, like, you gotta put it in, like, you gotta you got to show it. So yeah, it really paid off, and I'm really blessed for all those opportunities.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. And I think one of the things that you illustrated in your internship is just putting in the work, like you said, without getting your flowers, without getting recognition. And in the other pod I did with my sister, we were just talking about that, like getting credibility and being in that space where you're doing a lot of the dirty work and people aren't appreciative. So I love how you said you kind of just had that determination to just the commitment to your goal and to what you're putting out as a product. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So did you already say what you do now? Did you get to that?
I kind of touched on it in the beginning, but I can.
Okay. Yeah. So explain what you do now.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. Yeah.
Yes. So fast forward, geez, that was like 5 years ago now. But fast forward 5 years-ish. And now I'm in Fort Collins, and I am a full-time strength and conditioning coach for Colorado State football. Just a low key, just gonna put it out there. I don't flex often, but I do want to say that I'm the only full-time female strength coach for football in the entire country. And I don't often think about that. That's not something that I'm like, ooh, yay, me. But it is kind of important to the story. You know, it's like my boss, Coach Simmons, he saw in me when I made that transition from Olympic to football, he saw, you know, something in me, and he invested in me, and I invested in myself and in my faith and in my community and my skills and talents. And I'm here because of that, you know, and it's a true honor. It really is an honor and a privilege and a blessing to be in the role that I'm in now. I just this May went to a strength and conditioning conference in Florida, and it was like low key kind of weird because people would come up to me and be like, hey, we've heard about you. Like, we know who you are.
Wow.
And I'm like, sorry, but I don't know who you are, but thank you. Let's get to know each other. This is crazy. I'm like, this isn't about me, you know, but, you know, I don't want to be the only one, and I don't want that to be, you know, the focus of anything. But it is really cool, you know, to see, you know, how all those hours that I put in, you know, as a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, like I was full-time coaching as a senior, but not getting paid a dime. Right. You know, a lot of people these days, they just care too much about their bag. Like they just want to make all this money. And I'm like, bro, you can't skip all the steps. Like, you got to earn your stripes, and you got to put that work in, you know, because that's investments. You know, you have to put investments in your craft and in your career. And so, yeah, I look back on that and I smile, and I'm really grateful to God.
Yes.
You know, it's a cool thing. Yeah.
Yes. No, that's beautiful and amazing. Thanks. Off camera, you mentioned that sometimes you struggle with imposter syndrome. I mean, we all experience that, whether you're a woman or a male, but being in this specifically in this football world, how did you navigate feeling like I don't belong here, whether it's because of experience or being a woman or your age? How did you continue to walk in the space with confidence and do your job?
Right. Well, those three things that you said, like female, what'd you say? Female, experience, and what was the third one? Age. Those three things were the biggest roadblocks for me that I had to overcome when I first started with football. Like I had mentioned with the Olympics, like I was still a peer. I was still a junior in college when I made that shift over. And so that was a huge roadblock. And then I was a female, you know, shout out to the NFL. Just want to put that out there. The NFL has really been pushing women and putting women in spaces that they should be in. Really showing people that like women can absolutely function in a football environment. Like there's no reason they can't. So like, you know, players these days have seen women in spaces, but a lot of them have never experienced a female because it's still nowhere near enough people. Like the NFL is like this like top 1%, even less than 1% of the population. Yeah. So they see it, but a lot of them have never experienced it. I've had players come up to me. This actually happened not too long ago when I first got to Colorado State. This one guy, I'll get back to that, but I don't want to lose the thought. He came up to me a couple months in, and he was like, hey, coach, I got to tell you something. And I was like, sure, what? He was like, when I first heard we were going to have a female strength coach, I didn't know what to think. And I have sisters. Like, I wasn't sure like how this was going to go. I was like, okay. And he kind of like took a long time getting to the point, but he was like, now that I know you and you've coached me, I wouldn't have it any other way. I hope that I'm coached by women the rest of my career. Like that your insight and wisdom is so different and it's incredibly valuable to me, and you do your job really, really well. So I've had some really great testimonies from players of just like, their experiences with me have been really, really awesome. But yeah, like, I mean, at first though, it is really a change for a lot of them. And like this summer we brought in 45 new guys, and to watch them kind of figure out, oh, like this is my coach, okay, and like get their head around it. But then they see everybody around, like all the players, like I have their complete respect, like so like they figure it out quickly, and I really established myself. But like how I navigated that at first, I was told by one of my coaches that I was under at the time. He was like, it doesn't matter who you are or how old you are, you have to have a presence. So when it comes to coaching, you have to have a presence. So when I enter a room, it's like, hey, I'm here, let's work. Like I shift, and they're like, all right, let's go. Like they hear me, they see me, I stand in full confidence, and I'm like, hey, I'm here. And they listen. If you come into a room and you're like, all right, guys, so we're gonna do some front squats today. They're going to be like, the freak, I'm not listening to this girl. She doesn't even know what she's talking about. Athletes quickly discern who knows what's up and who doesn't. They know. They know. So that was a huge skill and a huge thing that I've always kept with me is like, hey, where's my presence? I can't for one moment show weakness. There's a difference between vulnerability and weakness. My players know that I'm vulnerable. They know that I wear my heart on my sleeve. They know that I care, that I'm emotional, that I cry, all this stuff. But I'm not weak.
That's good.
Like weak in like how I command a room or a space. I don't show, even if I feel it. My mom would always say to me growing up, fake it till you make it. I think, in a lot of cases, that's actually really good advice. In this field, you have to sometimes fake it till you make it if you're not fully, equipped. Because players, once they sense that you're weak, they'll either try to take advantage of you or they'll stop listening.
Wow.
That's every time. It's one of those two things. If you break down, that's what's going to happen. So from a coaching perspective, you just always have to have a presence. And I've seen, many older male strength coaches not get it right because they come in and they're just not, they don't have it. They don't have the presence. They don't have a coaching voice. They don't have to switch it on. So once I figured that out, players really figured it out too. They were like, oh, all right. And so, that was one big thing. Also, just with the imposter syndrome, like just continuing to fall back on like what my identity actually is in. Like my identity still to this day is not that I'm a coach. Like I love being a coach. It's a gift, but it's a cherry on top. Like I am who God created me to be, and I'm his daughter. And so like first and foremost, that's my identity. So if you have like this unfaltering, unconditional love and identity in Christ, like there's not anything that can shake you from that. So, even if I don't feel like maybe I know all the sprint mechanics one day, or maybe I didn't, my coach didn't tell me how to run this drill properly or whatever, that's not going to change my confidence and my joy. Those are two things that always come from the Lord, in my opinion. So when we find them or we seek them in other things, like it's not going to carry us the way we need it to. So I think that was a huge thing that equipped me a lot. I really got into my faith my freshman year of college. So, the more I grew in that, the more it kind of met me where I needed it to. So, I felt really equipped in that way. And also, my parents, just incredible resources, always, some of the hardest workers in the whole world. And they just always shown me that hard work beats work. Like it's just, I don't know how to, like they just taught me how to lead in silence and how to work when no one was watching and things like that. And so those kind of skill sets have always stuck with me. And also just, mentors that have had, teachers, just always seeing and investing in me. So there's a lot of things, but that imposter syndrome has really gone away. I don't feel that anymore. Hardly ever. So, I attribute that to all those things.
Yeah, no, that's good. I loved everything you said, and I think it's so important to pay attention to being in this space, being a student athlete, being a coach. You're extremely busy. There's
Yes.
not a lot of time to reflect. There's not a lot of time to just deal with life outside of your sports world. How did you in your life deal with managing, okay, this is my sports world, but something else is happening in my real world as Hope? And how do I deal with that? How do I manage those adversities outside of the sports space?
Right, absolutely. I think if you had asked me that a year ago, I would have fumbled this totally. Like, I don't, because I had not really gone through a lot of difficult things. Um, Pretty privileged life. Like, I hadn't really gone through a lot of hardship, maybe like a breakup, or, maybe I was beefing with a friend or something, or, failed a test. But like, like real life stuff that I see my athletes go through every day. Like, I never felt for a long time like I could relate to that. But last year, in July, my mom got really sick, and she got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4. And that like turned my entire world on its head. That was right at the end of summer workouts and the beginning of fall camp. So right around this time last year, I was like, whoa, I was spinning out of control, to be honest. Not a lot of people knew what was going on. I told my boss, and I told a couple trusted players, and a couple of my coworkers. And so, they knew what was going on. But everything, in my mom's diagnosis and illness went really, really fast. So at first at work, I was tripping out like all day. I didn't have any skills on how to manage what was going on. So, that first month I was like, what in the actual freak is life? What's going on? My whole world is just turned upside down. And honestly, I wasn't doing my job well. I had to drop out of grad school. I was having just a hard time in a lot of ways. Fast forward, not a lot of time, because then at the end of August, my mom decided she was not going to continue any treatment. And she decided to forego chemo. And so she went into hospice care. There are only 2 days in my life that I'll never forget exactly how I felt. And that was that day, and then the day that my mom died. I am in my living room right now, and I'm looking at this beanbag chair, and I literally sat on that beanbag chair, and I bet the neighbors underneath me heard me and thought, World War II had just broke out upstairs, because it was one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through. So, then I called my boss. I was like, yo, this just happened. Like, I'm wrecked right now. He was like, all right, like, don't come in. Like, we don't have a lot going on the next day. Don't come in. So I didn't come in. I like tried to get my head right. I like called on my family, tried to get like in a decent headspace. And then the next day after that, I went in and I told a couple players, because I work in return to play. So within my job, I work with surgical athletes, athletes who've gone through, big surgeries, heart injuries. And so I have really special bonds with those guys, and I've gone through trenches with them. So I was like, yo, you need to know what's going on in my life. I can't carry you right now, because I need you to carry me. Like, this is happening. It was super cool. Lots of players brought me flowers and like cards, and it was like an incredible time to see that. But anyway, so like that happened. And then my boss was like, you need to go home now. Like, you need to go home, because my dad had called me and told me, mom's not going to make it to Thanksgiving. At like, if anything, it's going to be quick. And so we played one game at Michigan, and I flew from Michigan to LA. Was long story short, I was home for a month. It was the best month of my life, but the hardest month of my life, because I got to spend every day with my mom. And as she passed on October 1st, and then I was home for maybe like, it wasn't even a week. And I went back to work. My mom, the whole time she was sick, she kept saying, Hope, you need to go back to work. Like, don't be here with me. I was like, are you out of your mind? Like, I am not staying, or I'm not going back. Like, you're out of your mind. But she knew how much, work meant to me, and the purpose that I have at work. And so anyway, I knew it was time to go back after about a week. It had already been so much, and it was a really hard space and time to be home when she was gone. And I knew I needed to get back to my purpose. So I came back here. And honestly, Nia, like the first month that I was here, like I'd cry every day at practice. Like I'd have to go inside and like hide in my office. It was always on my mind. I couldn't think about anything else. It was a really, really hard space. But then I started going to therapy, and that was one of the biggest gifts. Oh my gosh, like the skills and the tools that I have learned from therapy are just like incredible. And one of the best things I ever learned about was creating boundaries. And
Wow, that's good.
that is directly related to this question. I remember my therapist just telling me, like, when you come home and you open the door to your house, that's your grief space.
Right.
When you
Wow,
close
that's
the door and you walk out, that's life space. Like, they're not going to mix. Sometimes, there might be a little, but do not let them mix.
wow.
Your home, view it as a space for you to be completely you and in it, and whatever just jump in with both feet, and you're going to ride that wave. And that is exactly what I've done. Like I'll have days in here where I'll just cry for 6 hours, or I'll just be like down in the dumps,
Wow.
but I have to. And
Yes.
if I do it here, either it's not going to happen or it's going to happen at work. And either of those options are not acceptable. My athletes, they deserve 100% of me every day. And there's no way I could give them that if I was always thinking about my mom. Drawing those boundaries, like, it seems almost counterproductive. It seems almost like, oh, well, then that doesn't mean that means I don't care about my mom. That means this grief doesn't affect me. No, that's not true at all. Distractions are necessary. Like, I'm watching my grandma right now and other family members who don't have the purpose or the ability to wake up early and go do something all day, just drown in grief, like just drown in it. And it's like just taking them down. I've seen athletes who are not able to draw these lines, they lose their career over it. And so I've been able to just draw a firm line in the sand. Like, I do not take my grief to work. Like, there are days where I'm driving to work and I'm like, dang, I'm feeling it. I miss my mom. This is hard. I don't want to do this. But then I open the car door and I'm like, no, I need to be here. This is healing for me. Distraction is healing. Distraction can't cover grief all the way. Distraction's not like your one-way ticket out. But distraction provides you relief. And you need relief to heal. Like, otherwise, it just, I experienced that first month. It was horrible. I literally, like, I would coach, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking about everything else. I wasn't able to give them what they needed. And I was miserable and I wasn't enjoying my job. And now I can go to work, and I've been going to work ever since, with this freedom of like, no, this is my purpose. This is my gift and my relief and my family and my support. And so that is like huge advice that I would give. Like, even if it's not as big as losing a parent, like just being able to say, like, when I'm home, that's where I can address these things and I can leave it at the door, and that's okay. I don't have to carry it with me everywhere, but I also can't neglect it either. You have to find the balance. And whenever I'm home and I feel a grief bomb coming, that's what I call them, a grief bomb. When it's about to drop, like, I'm like, all right, friends, it's about to happen. Like, I might need you. I might not. I want you to know this is going down. And then I just bunker down. And if I need people to come by, they come by. If not, I just like ride it out. And that has been the best tool ever. And that is huge. So that's like my number one answer to that. But there's a couple others and they're way less lengthy. Have a community. That's a good segue. Like, have people outside of your sport to rely on and lean on. Like, you can't put everything on your coworkers or your fellow athletes. Like, you can't do that to them. That's not what they're there for. Everybody in your life has a purpose, and that's not, like, they can help to carry some of that, but like my community of friends here in Fort Collins, like, they carry me when I'm low. Like, I need them. Not only do I need them just for like emotional support, but also for joy and laughter and fun. Like, whenever I can, I try and get out and do fun things and stay connected with people, because we need people. Like, we need that. God created that for us. And then, to segue again, like, you need the Lord. Like, I lean on the Lord for everything. I cling to him. In my weakest times, he is at his strongest for me. And just knowing that, and that he's a caring God. And when you go through hard things, he knows it's hard. He's not turning a blind eye. He knows it's hard. He doesn't have expectations for you. Like, I can rest in God and know that if I'm having a hard day and I like am feeling so depressed, I can't even like read the word, or I can't do this, I can't do that. He's okay. He's caring for me. He doesn't judge me. He knows it's hard. He cries with me, like Jesus weeps with me. And just understanding that God in this season of my life, which is going to be a long season, is always going to be my first and only line of support. Like, my true lifeline is in the Lord. And so, even though, I've had a lot of spiritual mountains and valleys in this, it hasn't been a year yet, but in this last like 10, 11 months, like, he is the constant. Like, everything around me changes, but he is the constant, and just understanding that. And also, like, I mean, my mom was a huge believer. She imparted like so much wisdom to me, and so much of her faith. And so just knowing like she's in heaven, that gives me a tremendous peace every day. And I don't know. There's a lot there. But just, boundaries, community, family too. You gotta stay tight to your family, especially in hard things like that. I forgot to say that, but like, they're your everything too. And then, the Lord, and then making sure you're aligned with your purpose. Like that, to summarize all that, that's what I would say will get you through hardship and still keep you going when you're trying to play your sport or coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good. No, yeah, you said so much tea in that.
There was a lot of tea, I know.
Yeah, but it's good. And I think sometimes as athletes, we're afraid to create those boundaries because we feel like it's going to jeopardize maybe our relationship with our coach or our teammates or just that space. But I like how you said, this is my time to grieve. This is my time to allow myself to be outside of my grief, is what it is. Truly, is just like, there is more to life than me grieving this, and it will take time, and it will hurt less in different time and spaces, but being able to have a break and have healthy distractions, if you want to call it, or just working your gifts. Like,
absolutely.
The Bible says, like, without vision, the people perish. And when you have when you're just stuck in that vision of grief and mourning, that's when you start to deteriorate. And I think you gave so much real life experience insight to that. It happens to a lot of athletes, and they jeopardize who they are because they get lost in it. So I'm so grateful for you. Grateful for your mom as well. I loved her. She was my coach as well. And just, I know she's smiling at you right now, just continuing to live on her legacy. So, and create your own as well. I thank you so much, Hope, for this. I'm extremely grateful, and I hope the people got something out of it. I already know you did. And until next time.
Yes.